Here we go. From the Silver Creek Studios, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac. On this episode, we're going to take a dive into the statistics around Paul Goldschmidt's slow start. He started off this season kind of slow, and from what we've read and heard, that appears to be his MO. He has started off previous season slow before turning it on and getting hot. So I want to look into the numbers and see, is that true, and how does this season so far compare to seasons past? But before we get into that, we're going to recap the Reds series. It's Sunday night after the Cardinals finished off the rubber match of the 3-game weekend series against Cincinnati. And they were fortunate enough, or dominant enough, today on Sunday to win 5-2 with Jack Flaherty on the mound. He gave up 0 earned runs, and the bullpen was very good, except for Dominic Leone. He wasn't horrible, but he did give up 2 earned runs on some pretty hard-hit balls. He did get 2 outs before having to be relieved from the game, but the rest of the pen was very good. Brebbia, Miller, Hicks, and Gant all came in and did a very good job shutting the Reds down. So it was nice to see them take the series on a Sunday afternoon, 5-2. Now, previously this weekend was not so good on Friday night. There was a bludgeoning that the Cardinals took 12-1. Michaelis took the loss with only 4 earned runs, but it didn't get any better after that. Leone ended up coming in, I believe, in the 9th, gave up 6 earned runs before having to be relieved by Jed Jerko, of all people, who did get the strikeout to end the game, or end the inning. So, not a good outing by the Cardinals. They looked so dominant against the Brewers and then came out in this first game against the last-place Reds and just got pounded 12-1. But to their credit, they did come back on Saturday and rebound nicely with a 6-3 win. Dakota Hudson got the start and the win, only giving up 3 earned runs. Ozuna was crazy hot with 5 RBI, and the bullpen, again, with Gant, Miller, and Hicks, was very dominant. So good to see the Cardinals have a nice weekend series against the Reds, put them back a little further in the standings. Speaking of, before we get into the Goldschmidt stuff, the standings as of right now, St. Louis is still in first place. Chicago and Milwaukee are tied 3 games back of the Cardinals. Now, Chicago is playing right now. They are in the 15th inning. Let me check on that again. Oh, actually, they just took the lead 6-3 in the 15th. They were tied 3-3. So, looks like the Cubs are probably going to hold on to that one. So that'll put them, 2.5 back. So they will be in sole possession of second. The Brewers are in third. They already lost today. Pittsburgh lost today. They are in fourth place, 4.5 games back. And Cincinnati, of course, is 6 games back. So good to see the Cardinals kind of putting a little bit of separation. The Cubs are hanging on, and the Milwaukee's right there. So hopefully we can push ahead. So, all right, let's get into some of this Paul Goldschmidt talk. As some of you may or may not know, he is having a slow start to the year and has statistically had slow starts to previous seasons. So I want to kind of compare what is he doing right now, and is that similar to what he's done in years past? So what I did was I looked at the last 4 seasons. I didn't go through his entire career. I just want to see, what's the recent trend for Goldschmidt been. But for now, let's look at what he's doing this season. So in 2019, before today, he had played in 26 games. And he was in his first 13 games, so halfway through those 26 games, he was batting 180 with a 305 on-base percentage and a 540 slugging percentage. So the on-base is not quite as good as you would hope. The slugging is really good. If you recall, he had all those home runs. So he combined for an 845 OPS. So not a bad OPS total, but really that was kind of buoyed by the 540 slugging. You'd like to see that on base be higher. But that 180 average is not good in those first 13 games. He had 16 strikeouts, 9 walks, 9 hits, 6 of which were home runs. So as we talked earlier, He was kind of all or nothing, a lot of power with the home runs, but not really getting on base. Now, that was the first 13 games. The next 13 games, through 14 through 26, he batted with a 385 average, a 458 on-base percentage, and a 615 slugging percentage for a 1.073 OPS. So those are crazy good numbers. That on-base percentage is insane. Slugging, great. Just, you couldn't ask for a better turnaround. Now, this is a small sample size. We're talking 13 games and 13 games. So, these numbers are going to swing pretty wildly, but still, that's a big swing in those numbers. So we said he had 16 strikeouts the first half, 14 strikeouts in the second half. So he didn't really bring those down much, but a little better. 6 walks, 20 hits instead of 9 hits, and 3 home runs. So he's kind of spreading the ball around a little more. The home runs dialed back a little. Now, again, the one group of 6 home runs, 3 of those came in one night. But so much better second half to the month of April. Now, today, Sunday, he did go 0 for 4 and had 2 strikeouts. So that was not good. But that doesn't fit our narrative, and we're not worried about reporting stats that don't fit the narrative. No, we are. All right, so that is how he started 2019. So he started really cold the first 2 weeks, really hot the next 2 weeks. How did he do last year? So in 2018, he had a very similar first month. Slow in the first 13 games and very hot in 14 through 28. And that's the month of April. So very similar numbers. I won't go through each of them, but it was almost identical. But downside of that is he had a terrible May. He batted 144 with a 252 on-base percentage and a 278 slugging for an OPS of 531. Just terrible in May of last year. 35 strikeouts. That's more than all the strikeouts he's had in April already, which we've said, he's on pace for this crazy number of strikeouts. He was even worse last year, and he only had 3 home runs in the month of May. So, not a good May. So, does that mean he's not going to have a good May this year? I don't know, but he is looking better over the last couple of weeks, so we'll see. Now, that being said, he had a scorching hot June. He batted 364 with a 460 on-base percentage, a 738 slugging for a 1.199 OPS. Only 25 strikeouts, so he cut his strikeouts down by a third, and he had 10 home runs in June. So he turned it on, completely reversed his numbers for May and June. And he kind of kept those not quite that hot, but he stayed pretty good through the rest of the year. And he did kind of come back to normal in middle of September, which we're going to see has become a trend for him as well. So overall, a very good year. Started slow in the first couple weeks, had a terrible month of May, crazy good in June, and then continued to be really good in July and August, and kind of came back to earth a little in September, but not terrible. So that's 2018. So maybe that's what we can look forward to. Hopefully he doesn't have such a terrible May as he did last year. 2017, he was pretty much great all year. He only dropped below a 1,000 OPS a few times throughout the season, and he was, in the upper 9s. He did, again, have a slow second half of September, and for the season, he ended up 297 average, 404 on-base percentage, 563 slugging for a 966 OPS, and 36 home runs. So that's 2017. So he really didn't have any cold streaks at all in 2017. Definitely nothing extended. He was good all year. Now, 2016 was similar to what we've seen this year, and in 2018, he had a slow first half in April. The first 15 games, he batted 218 with a 362 on base, which isn't bad. You'd take a 362 for sure, and a 436 slugging. So you'd like to see a little more slugging, but it wasn't bad, and that's a 799 OPS. He had 17 strikeouts, so again, his strikeouts were pretty high those first 15 games, 11 walks, and 3 home runs. Now, games 16 through 25, so it wasn't quite a split of those first few games. He batted 300 with a 523 on-base percentage, which is crazy, and a 633 slugging for a 1.156 OPS. Only 8 strikeouts, so, half as many strikeouts as that first couple weeks. 14 walks. He had significantly more walks in less games, and the same number of home runs, 3 home runs in those 10 games. So much better second half of April. Again, this is 2016. He had a decent May, not great, but not terrible, just kind of okay. Then a great June, a decent July, and a great August. And then again, dropped off in September. So he ended the season 297 average, 411 on base, 489 slugging, 899 OPS with only 24 home runs. I say only because, we don't always have a guy capable of hitting 24, 25 home runs. But for him, that was on the low end. So 2016 was kind of weird. He had a slow and hot April, an okay May, a great June, an okay July, an amazing August, and then he dropped off in September. So kind of weird to have those fluctuations that year. He never really had that in other seasons. So the last season we're going to look at is 2015. Like 2017, he was pretty much great all year, even in September. He ended up on the season batting .321 with a .435 on-base percentage, a .570 slugging for a 1.005 OPS, and 33 home runs. So he kind of got back into those 30s again in 2015. So really, as far as power numbers, he was really only down in 2016. Everything else, every other season, he's been what we expect to see from Goldschmidt. So what's the takeaway from all that? Basically, he has consistently started slow in April and then heated up significantly. He had the 1 year, 2017, where he didn't really even have a slow April. Even 2015 wasn't a bad April. And then he kind of stays hot through the summer, and then it's kind of weather related, it seems. As the temperatures cool off in September, he tends to cool off. And oddly enough, he's been really good lately. And then we had a very cool, brisk, windy day today. I was at the ballpark. It was cold, trust me. And he went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So, probably a coincidence, but it is a little interesting to see this temperature relationship with Goldschmidt and his offensive numbers. So, I don't know. It kind of seems to be a trend. But what I would take from all this is that I think he's going to have a very good summer. As the weather heats up, he's going to be looking very good. He's going to be batting over 300. He's going to be getting on base at a nearly 400 percentage. He's going to have an OPS of almost 1,000, and he's probably going to hit 30-something home runs. So that's basically what we can expect to see. So this slow start that everybody's talking about this year is kind of typical. I had heard them talk about that with him, and, you kind of never know what you can believe, or if they've really done their homework on the numbers, or if it's just a 1-year trend kind of thing. But that does seem to be at least partially true with Goldschmidt over the last few seasons. So kind of interesting, but I think we should take that as a positive note that he generally bounces back, and not just in a little way, in a big way. He turns those numbers around and does it pretty quick. Within just a few games, he gets those numbers up pretty high. So pretty cool to see. I did want to look at his strikeout numbers and his strikeout rate. That's something that, to me, has been a concern. I feel like he's been striking out a lot. Like we said, he had 30 strikeouts before today. So after today, he's got 32 strikeouts. With a few more days to go in the month. He had 35 strikeouts in May of last year. So that would be a high total. And then in April he had 25 strikeouts. So this trend that he's at right now with 30, 32, and going, seemed a little high to me. So I wanted to kind of see what has he done throughout his career in strikeouts. So I looked at his total number of plate appearances and the strikeouts. So plate appearances per strikeout. So how many times has he come to the plate, whether he walks, flies out, strikes out, grounds out, gets a hit, whatever. How many times has he come to the plate before striking out? So for his career, it's 4.43 plate appearances per strikeout. And he increased that pretty much every year. So his first season as a rookie was 3.34, so more than a plate appearance less per strikeout. So you want that number to be higher. And that was his lowest number as a rookie, which is understandable. His next year, his first full season in 2012, 4.52, then 4.9, then brought it back to 4.35 in 2014. In 2015, it was 4.6, then 4.7. Then in 2017, it was 4.52. Now in 2018, it was 3.99. And so far this year, it's 3.93. So he is having, a fairly noticeable decline in his plate appearances per strikeout. Not a huge swing, but you're talking about a half a plate appearance, a half to, 3/4 plate appearance per strikeout. But also the numbers that we're looking at this year are kind of including this notoriously slow start. So assuming he turns that around like he has every year, that 3.93 ought to bump up a little bit. Now, is it going to get back up to 4.5 or 4.7? I don't know. But so there is a little bit of a decline over the last couple years, so it's a little concerning. But for his career, he's at 4.43 plate appearances per strikeout. Now, how does that compare to some other people that we know? So the first person I thought of on the Cardinals to compare it to was Matt Carpenter. He's kind of been, over his career, a notoriously on-base kind of guy, doesn't strike out much, works the count full a lot, fouls off a lot of pitches. So what's his plate appearance per strikeout rate? So Matt Carpenter is 5.26 for his career. So seems like a decent amount more, almost a full plate appearance more than Goldschmidt per strikeout. But that's to be expected. He's not, until the last couple of years, hasn't really been known as a home run guy. So he's a put it in play, hitting doubles, like I said, working the count, all that stuff. So he's a different kind of batter, and it sort of shows. He's got more plate appearances per strikeout. Now, those numbers have dropped off significantly over the last couple of years to bring that number down to where it is. His first several seasons, Carp was up in the 6s and 7s, but for his career, he's 5.26. So some other guys that are kind of well known. So Bryce Harper, the other big-time free agent this offseason that a lot of people wanted us to go after. He's got 4.69 plate appearances per strikeout. So less than Carp, but just a little bit more than Goldschmidt. Mike Trout, 4.73 plate appearances per strikeout. So, by all accounts, most people consider him the best player in the game of our generation. And he's, a noticeable uptick, not a huge uptick like we saw with Carp, but noticeable. Now, even bigger is Nolan Arenado. He has a 6.57 plate appearance per K. So significantly, 2 plate appearances more than Goldschmidt and Harper. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that he didn't strike out at the same rate. You'd think, being a home run guy and kind of a big swinger, that he would be striking out just as much as these other guys. So definitely cool to see Arenado striking out that much less. Now, let's look at another name that we all know, Albert Pujols. For his career, he is 9.63 plate appearances per strikeout. So way more than double the plate appearances of Goldschmidt and Harper and Trout, nearly double Carp's. So Albert, that's for his career, and that's over the last several seasons where he's kind of tailed off. If you just look at his first 11 seasons in St. Louis, he had 10.56 plate appearances per strikeout. So more than 10.5 plate appearances. That's crazy compared to what we're seeing with these current players in their primes. Now, it kind of makes sense when you remember what he did. Albert didn't strike out much at all. He was putting it in play a lot, hitting for power a lot. It was amazing to watch. But when you look at just how drastic those strikeout numbers are, it's pretty striking. Now, the last and final strikeout stat I'm going to show you is Stan the Man Musial. I couldn't hardly believe this when I looked up the stats. For his career, he had 18.27 plate appearances per strikeout. 18.27. Again, Goldschmidt's got 4.43. Carp's got 5.26. Pujols was 9.63. Musial was 18.27 plate appearances per strikeout. And if you look at the first half of his career, which was 11 seasons, career was 22. In the first half, he was 22.22 plate appearances per strikeout. 22. More than 5 times Goldschmidt's total of plate appearances per strikeout. It's just insane. Stan really was the man. 22.22 plate appearances. Crazy. All right. That's pretty much all I have on Goldschmidt. I just kind of wanted to get into some of these numbers. This is obviously not a deep dive into the exhaustive stats of his career. I'm really just looking at, the averages, the on base, and the slugging, and some of these other things like home run totals and number of walks, and definitely strikeouts. But like I said, it seems like he's been pretty consistent with a slow start, then getting super hot and maintaining that through the year before dropping off a little bit in September. So that could be concerning. If we go on a playoff run, if we've got a tight race, we might expect Goldschmidt to kind of tail off in mid-September. So we'll see. But these strikeout totals are crazy to see just how good Albert and Stan the Man were. So pretty cool stuff. Couple other things. So in minor league news and notes, Alex Reyes broke his left pinky over the weekend after he punched a wall in frustration after a bad outing that he had in Memphis. So I don't think it's horrible. It's on his left hand. It's not his pitching hand. It's his pinky. So it's not, critical for catching the ball or whatever. But he is going to have to miss, they said, 3 weeks plus the time it's going to take him to get back his timing on hitting and, playing defense or whatever. They said he is going to be able to work out his throwing arm. They're going to start out with him behind a screen and a coach or a player catching the ball for him and handing it to him. But it's just unfortunate. He kind of struggled up here in the big leagues, and he's had some up and down outings down in Memphis. Obviously, he had a bad one this weekend, which caused him to do this. He's gone through a lot of adversity, a lot of physical, recuperation, surgeries. He's had a lot of personal issues with his daughter and her health problems. So, you kind of want to give him a break, but at the same time, you're a professional. You're being counted on by your teammates. You can't be punching a wall. At least he had the presence of mind to use his left hand. So, that's pretty much it. We had an interesting homestand, to sweep what we thought of as the powerhouse Brewers, and I still think they are, to sweep them and then come out and just get manhandled by the last place Reds on Friday night was kind of a shell shock and an awakening. But we took care of it over the Saturday and Sunday games, so I'm interested to see how we do in this upcoming 4-game road trip against the Nationals. The Nationals are a very good team, but I feel like they're kind of underachieving again, like they always seem to do. The fans have high expectations there with the lineup and the rotation that they've got, and they always seem to kind of falter more than people expect them to. But that being said, they're a good team. They are a dangerous team, and they could definitely handle the Cardinals, but we could also handle them. So I think it'll be a good series, 4 games starting on Monday. So exciting times here. Hopefully the weather, I thought it had already started to warm up, but now it's we were back in the low 50s today, and it's going to be in the 40s overnight. It's definitely been chilly, and we're going to have a lot of rain coming up, but hopefully they don't get too much of that out on the East Coast. So anyway, that's all I got for now. I thank you for listening. Feel free to get a hold of the show on Twitter or Instagram at BFIBs Almanac. You can email bfibsalmanac@gmail.com, and you can listen along on YouTube, BFIBs Almanac Podcast. So until next time, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac.